long before time counted itself in years, long before kings wore crowns and priests held power. There was the red moon. The ancients spoke of it in trembling voices, a time when the sky bled and the earth responded with silence. They said the red moon was no celestial event, but the womb of forgotten vengeance. Once every 70 seasons it returns, and with it the screams of women whose names history refused to remember. Only one family ever bore its mark, the Ihiala line, a bloodline of women cursed and blessed with power, awakened only by betrayal, fed only through silence. And in the village of Okuta, one girl would awaken it all again. She was born on a night no one spoke of. The air was thick with the scent of iron. The moon hung low, swollen and dripping red. They named her Nnenna, father's mother, a name given to children born after death. Her mother Ogadinma died in childbirth, eyes wide open, bleeding from the mouth, hands clenched around her own umbilical cord. People said it wasn't childbirth that killed her. They said it was the curse, that she had angered the moon by birthing its daughter. The midwives would not touch Nnenna. They used a stick to lift her from her mother's body and laid her by the door where dogs sniffed and ran away whimpering. She was raised by her mother's brother, Odogwu, a man of stone and silence. He took her not out of kindness, but duty, a debt to blood, not to love. She was fed last, clothed in rags, and beaten for things she never did. The villagers crossed themselves when she passed. Children threw stones and ran. Even birds avoided perching on the tree outside her hut. At 7, she learned to harvest yam without making a sound. At 10, she learned to sew her own wounds. By 12, she had learned to cry without tears. And at 16, the men began to visit. It began with Odogwu. He came to her bed after the rain, reeking of palm wine and sin. He told her, "Don't cry, it's how love begins." She did not scream. She watched the wooden roof above her and counted its cracks. She felt herself leave her body, a trick her ancestors whispered into her bones. Then came Nnenna, the herbalist. He brought her roots and whispered, "This will cleanse the darkness in you." His hands spoke a language of violation. Then Ezugo, the chief's son, arrogant and hungry. He offered love with one hand and silence with the other. Then others, some she didn't know, men who left coins by her mat, men who told her to be grateful someone wanted her. Even the high priest, in the name of sacred cleansing, forced himself into her. She kept no voice, but she kept record. Beneath her mat, she carved names, not with ink, but with rat bones sharpened under moonlight. She drew symbols, known only to the old gods. Each line, each scratch, a cry unanswered. Mama Ula, the village madwoman, was the only one who saw. "You are the last," she told her one day, eyes wide. "Your blood sleeps now, but it will wake. The moon is coming." Nnenna asked, "What happens when it wakes?" Mama Ula looked to the sky. "Then they will know who you are." By the time Nnenna turned 18, she no longer cried. She no longer flinched. She became a ghost in her own skin. Every man who used her, she studied. What they feared, what they boasted about, who they loved. Odogwu feared snakes. Nnenna had a paralyzed son hidden away in another village. Ezugo slept with a dagger beneath his pillow. Nnenna learned it all, not from hatred, but from preparation. She cleaned their homes, she served their wives, she listened, she obeyed, she watched. But her silence was not submission. Her silence was a womb, carrying something ancient. That season, the rains refused to fall. Animals gave birth to stillborns. Frogs croaked songs that mimicked babies crying. The high priest declared, a cleansing must be done. He ordered all unclean women to bathe in river ash and walk naked through the square. Nnenna was made to walk twice. The night before the war festival, Mama Ula came again. This time coughing blood. She handed Nnenna a bundle wrapped in red cloth. Inside was a necklace of black stones. Your mother wore this before she died, she said. It's not just a necklace, it's a key. Nnenna asked, to what? Mama Ula touched her chest. To everything. That night, Nnenna dreamed of a crimson moon rising from the river and her reflection in the water, not as a girl, but as a woman cloaked in flames. She awoke before dawn. Outside, the sky was glowing red. They called it Onwa Obara, the red moon. Once every 30 years, the blood moon rose over Ihiala. To the village, it was a time of celebration. To the spirits, a time of reckoning. Drums beat for 3 days, palm wine flowed. Women danced barefoot on burning sand. But no one remembered what happened the last time, because those who did were no longer alive. Nnenna stood by the edge of the forest, watching. No one invited her, no one asked her to dance, but the moonlight found her, bathed her in crimson, as if calling her home. That night, Mama Ula returned to the square. She wore no cloth, only ash. Her eyes rolled back, her voice deep with centuries. The daughter of fire stands among you. You fed her to wolves. Now the wolves shall bleed. And the drums stopped. It began with the village well. At dawn, the water turned red. At first, they thought it was a dye. Then a child drank from it. Her screams echoed like the cries of 10 goats being slaughtered. Her tongue swelled, her skin blistered. She died before her mother reached her. Nnenna, the herbalist, was summoned. He dipped his calabash, but when he touched the water, his hands turned black. By evening, his hut burned on its own. He tried to run, but the vines from the forest crept into his legs like snakes. The spirits dragged him screaming into the earth. No one dared speak of it. But Nnenna watched from the shadows, her hands muddy, her eyes glowing softly. The village women began to speak, in whispers. The men they had once trusted now came to them in their dreams, but not as men, as things, crawling, faceless things with many mouths. That night, Odogwu's wives woke to find his bed soaked, not with wine, but with blood. He was missing. His belt lay on the floor, tied into a noose. They found him hours later, hanging from the ancient tree behind the shrine. His body was untouched, but his face was frozen in a scream that would not close. Mama Ula stood by the corpse and whispered, "He who made her bleed shall now drown in his own blood." And the red moon pulsed. The last night, the final night. Ezugo, the serpent prince, tried to flee. His father, the chief, had sent guards to find Nnenna, but they returned with their eyes missing and mouths sewn shut. The shrine doors opened on their own. The high priest walked in, hands trembling. For the first time in 50 years, he knelt. "Spare me," he whispered, but the altar cracked. Blood bubbled from the sacred idol's mouth. Flames burst from the offering pot. The spirits spoke through the wind, the tongues of raped women, crying girls, broken daughters. The priest's staff turned to ash, his robes caught fire, and in the center of the flame stood Nnenna. Not screaming, not crying, smiling. By dawn the village was quiet, no drums, no footsteps, no chants, only crows circling smoke. The men were gone, those who touched her, those who mocked her, those who turned away. gone, into the earth, into the fire, into the air. Women emerged from huts and wept, not in grief, but in release. The curse had not come from her, it came through her. She walked through the village, barefoot, her face clean. The red moon still hung high, refusing to set. Mama Ula met her at the village gate. "Are you ready?" she asked. "I was born ready," Nnenna replied. They vanished into the forest, never seen again. But once every generation, under the blood moon, a girl is born, with hollow eyes and a broken smile, and the village holds its breath. You used her, thinking she was powerless. You silenced her, thinking the silence would protect you. But power sleeps, it does not die. And when the red moon rises again, remember her name. Nnenna, daughter of dust, vessel of vengeance. The one you buried, who now walks in your blood. If this story gripped you, there are many more shadows to uncover. Subscribe to African Folktales by Nnenna for more dark legends, forgotten truths, and voices that refuse to stay silent. Like, share, and leave a comment. What would you do if the red moon rose over your village?